This is how women tend to fall in love, and this is how men do. What all these hormones are essentially signaling is that women fall in love around the moment of orgasm, while men tend to fall in love when they imagine having sex. This works as an evolutionary mechanism designed to keep both partners loyal. But why does this happen? Because a human baby gains a huge advantage from having both parents present. So in the end, it all ties back to reproduction. This lines up perfectly with Helen Fisher's work, where she explains that falling in love can be divided into three distinct stages. Stage 1, lust. In men, lust is connected to testosterone, while in women, it's associated with estrogen. But here's the catch. Men operate on a daily hormonal cycle. Testosterone rises during sleep and reaches its peak right after waking. Women, on the other hand, follow a monthly cycle. Their estrogen levels peak just before ovulation, which is when they are most fertile. So women feel more desire for a few days each month, while men tend to feel it every day, especially in the morning. That said, this doesn't mean women don't feel lust outside their fertile window, just that it's typically less intense than in men. In a study conducted by the dating app OkCupid, it was found that women rate most men as below average, whereas men tend to rate most women as average. But why does that happen? Back in 1972, researchers discovered that the sex investing more in reproduction becomes more selective. Over centuries, women faced greater risks, such as unwanted pregnancy, illness, and abandonment, which explains why they tend to be more selective than men. So how can you increase a woman's sense of desire toward you? First, focus on your scent. Most senses, like sight and hearing, pass through a region called the diencephalon before reaching the brain, but scent travels directly to the brain's emotional center. To trigger attraction, apply fragrance to your pulse points, but don't overdo it. The idea is for the scent to be noticeable only within close proximity, about 18 inches or less. This creates a kind of reward loop. She has to be near you to notice it, which encourages her to stay close. Second, work on your face. In 2013, the University of New South Wales conducted a study to find the most attractive beard length. Women were shown images of clean-shaven faces, light stubble, heavy stubble, light beards, and full beards. The most attractive? Heavy stubble, long enough to signal masculinity, but short enough to avoid associations with aggression. The least attractive? Light stubble. Third, improve your overall appearance. Features like a V-shaped body, clear skin, and healthy hair are widely known to boost attractiveness. I've already made a video covering all of that, link in the description. But here's a quick bonus. Studies suggest that women find men wearing red to be more sexually appealing. Stage 2, attraction. At this point, looks matter less and behavior matters more. A 2022 study highlights differences in love languages between men and women. Men tend to prefer physical touch, while women value quality time more. However, the way someone expresses love isn't always the same as how they prefer to receive it. Data shows that men often give love through touch and acts of service, while women express it more broadly, especially through spending time together. This may connect to the fact that, on average, women think about their partner 54% of the time, compared to 44% for men. But simply spending more time together doesn't automatically improve a relationship. Dr. John Gottman, who can predict divorce with up to 90% accuracy just by observing couples, found that stable relationships maintain 5 positive interactions for every negative one. Why is that? Because of negativity bias. Our brains store negative experiences 3 to 5 times stronger than positive ones. So, how do you create more positive interactions? One way is through shared reality theory. Couples who develop a private language or inside jokes tend to bond faster, as it builds an us versus the world dynamic. Similarly, using playful nicknames based on her personality or behavior rather than generic ones like babe can strengthen that connection. Another approach is variable reward theory. Brain scans have shown that reward centers become more active when outcomes are unpredictable. That's the same reason social media is so addictive. You never know when the next dopamine hit will come. So, occasionally doing something unexpected can make interactions more engaging. And then there's humor. A fun observation, women are generally attracted to men who can make them laugh, while men don't prioritize a woman's humor as much. They simply enjoy it when she laughs at their jokes. Stage 3, attachment. Based on parental influence, people tend to develop one of 4 attachment styles. While this is psychological, biology often plays a stronger role. This leads to what's known as the pursue-withdraw cycle. When one partner becomes distant, the other starts pursuing more. Feeling overwhelmed, the first partner withdraws further, which causes the second to pursue even harder. Over time, one may develop an avoidant style while the other becomes anxious. Biologically, women are more likely to develop anxious attachment. Why? In evolutionary terms, when a male provider withdraws attention, it can signal that he's preparing to leave. So this response evolved as a way to keep him invested. This also aligns with a 2025 study suggesting that women tend to fall in love more intensely than men. But during her research, Helen Fisher noticed something unusual. Many divorces happen around the 4-year mark. Why does that matter? Because 4 years is roughly how long it takes for a child to become more independent, reducing the need for both parents to be constantly present. At that point, the mother can often manage on her own. So, in a way, there's actually a 4th stage of love, disunity. And as history has shown us, evolution can be influenced, even overridden, with the right understanding of science. If you want to learn about the 3 specific elements that can make or break a relationship, there's a video I'd recommend watching next.
What makes humans so deceptive is that most don't even realize they're doing it. People are actors in a play they never wrote. Their smiles, their beliefs, their tone, all shaped by what once kept them safe. And this is why people aren't really hiding from you. They're hiding from themselves. Nietzsche once said, "Every profound spirit needs a mask, not as an insult, but as a warning. Don't confuse the mask with the person behind it." Here's what most people don't tell you. People constantly leak the truth, not through their words, but through the cracks, the glance they avoid, the laugh that lasts too long, the way they quickly shift the subject when it gets too close. And Nietzsche's first psychological truth is this: everyone wears a mask to survive, not because they're fake, but because they're afraid. To function in society, people construct a version of themselves they hope will be accepted. But masks aren't flawless, they slip. And the first sign of truth is tension. Notice what makes someone uncomfortable. That's where the real person starts to show. 2. What someone hates in others often reveals what they're hiding within themselves. This is one of Nietzsche's sharpest observations: projection. Someone who constantly mocks arrogance is often insecure about their own worth. Someone who keeps pointing out dishonesty is usually avoiding a truth within themselves. We tend to hate in others what we refuse to face in ourselves. So if you want to read someone, don't just look at what they admire, look closely at what they criticize and why. 3. Silence often reveals more than words. Nietzsche didn't believe truth came from talking. He saw language as a tool of the herd, often used to avoid facing reality. When someone hesitates before answering, dodges certain topics, or gives short, rehearsed responses to deep questions, that silence speaks louder than anything they say. Avoiding vulnerability exposes exactly what they fear. 4. Excessive virtue often disguises vanity. Be cautious of the person who loudly advertises their purity, the one always correcting, always preaching. Nietzsche described this as the will to power in disguise. Sometimes morality becomes a mask for superiority. The louder someone signals virtue, the more likely they're hiding something behind it. True goodness doesn't need applause. 5. People don't lie to you first, they lie to themselves. This one changes everything. The phrases you hear, "I'm fine," "I'm over it," "I don't care," aren't meant to deceive you. They're lies people repeat until they believe them. Nietzsche saw self-deception not as evil, but as a defense, a way to keep functioning in a painful world. So when someone's story doesn't quite align, don't assume they're trying to fool you. Understand they've been doing it to themselves much longer. And that's exactly what makes them readable. The inconsistencies reveal the truth. 6. Where someone feels superior, they're often hiding inferiority. This is classic Nietzsche. Superiority is frequently overcompensation. If someone constantly highlights their achievements, they probably fear they're not enough. If they casually put others down, they may be afraid of being overlooked. Real confidence doesn't compete, it simply exists. So when someone needs to dominate, control, or prove something, look deeper. Behind the crown, there's often a scared child. Reading people isn't about judging them, it's about understanding their core. When someone interrupts constantly, it's not always arrogance. It could be fear of being forgotten. When someone constantly posts about happiness, it might be a silent cry for help. When someone avoids eye contact while saying, "I'm fine," you learn to trust the body, not the words. Use these truths not for control, but for compassion. The clearer you see someone, the harder it becomes to hate them. That was Nietzsche's real intention, not to help you control others, but to help you stop being fooled and start truly connecting. If you've ever looked at someone and felt like you were only seeing the surface, if you've ever wished you could decode what's happening beneath the mask, drop a comment below. Share a moment when someone revealed the truth without saying a word. And if this changed how you see people, subscribe, because there's more coming, and you'll want to see the rest of Nietzsche's truths. It's one thing to notice the mask. It's something else entirely to watch it crack. If you've paid attention, you've probably seen it before. The flicker of discomfort when someone's beliefs are challenged, the shift in tone when things get too personal, the nervous laugh that doesn't match the words. These aren't accidents, they're clues. And once you know what to look for, you realize people aren't hard to read. They're just afraid of being seen. In part 1, we explored how people construct personas to protect themselves. Now, in part 2, we go deeper, into the moments where those personas begin to break. Because Nietzsche believed the self isn't stable, it's a performance stitched together to survive the world. And when that performance is threatened, the truth slips out. 7. Most actions are driven by unconscious fear. Ask yourself, why does someone over-explain? Why do they dominate conversations or disappear entirely? Why do they say yes when they clearly mean no? Fear. Fear of rejection, abandonment, humiliation, failure. Nietzsche understood that people rarely act from pure desire. They act from fear of losing something: love, status, identity, self-worth. So if you want to understand someone, don't focus on what they say they want. Ask what they're afraid to lose. That's where the truth is. 8. Constant criticism is projection. The person who mocks emotional people may fear their own feelings. The one who criticizes appearances may be fighting their own reflection. Nietzsche believed judgment is rarely about others, it's about the self. So don't focus on the target of criticism, trace it back to the speaker. Projection isn't just defense, it's confession. If you listen carefully, it reveals exactly where someone's pain lives. 9. Guilt often hides behind false confidence. You've probably seen it. The person who seems overly certain, always composed, always in control. But if you watch closely, you'll notice tension, over-preparation, defensiveness. Nietzsche observed this in leaders and authority figures, those who perform certainty because they fear being exposed. When someone seems excessively confident, look for the guilt they're hiding. Real peace doesn't need to perform. 10. Exaggeration reveals hidden truth. This one is subtle but powerful. Someone who says, "I don't care what anyone thinks," probably cares deeply. Someone who claims to always be happy likely isn't. Exaggeration is the ego trying to drown out doubt. Nietzsche believed extremes signal imbalance, not strength. So when statements sound absolute, don't focus on the words, look at what they're trying to suppress. 11. The desire for control often masks inner chaos. Some people seek control everywhere, in relationships, routines, work, to the point of obsession. Nietzsche saw this clearly. When the inner world feels unstable, the outer world must be tightly controlled. If someone micromanages everything or can't tolerate change, it's not strength, it's fear. The stricter the exterior, the more fragile the interior. 12. The louder the performance, the emptier the core. This insight feels especially relevant today. The constant need to be seen, the curated identities, the endless look-at-me energy. Nietzsche didn't see this as power, but as desperation. When someone is always performing, it's often because they don't believe they're enough without it. But someone who truly knows themselves doesn't need an audience. At this point, you can probably feel the shift. You walk into a room and patterns start speaking louder than words. You see someone interrupting and recognize fear. You hear someone bragging and sense the wound beneath it. You're not reading minds, you're reading masks. And this isn't just a skill, it's a responsibility. Because once you see people clearly, you can't unsee it. You begin to realize that most people are quietly struggling behind polished exteriors. Reading them isn't about gaining power, it's about offering understanding.
When you see the fear behind arrogance, the pain behind criticism, the insecurity behind control, you don't become weaker, you become steady. If this part opened your eyes, wait until the final one, because in part 3 we go even deeper into how childhood wounds shape adult behavior, how envy, silence, and the need for recognition reveal the soul. You'll learn the final 6 truths that bring complete clarity, not just about others, but about yourself. By now, something in you has changed. You don't just see people, you read them, not as heroes or villains, but as humans trying to survive behind masks they didn't choose. But there's still one more layer, because behind every behavior is a belief, and behind every belief is a wound. This final part is about seeing the soul, the hidden story beneath every person you meet. Nietzsche didn't just reveal patterns, he showed where they come from. So, let's finish this. 13. No one speaks from logic, they speak from pain. People appear rational, but Nietzsche believed that beneath every argument is an emotional wound. When someone says love isn't real, they're not stating a fact, they're protecting themselves. People build beliefs from what hurt them, then justify those beliefs with logic. So instead of asking what someone thinks, ask what hurt them. That's where the truth is. 14. How someone responds to weakness reveals their strength. Don't watch how people treat the powerful, watch how they treat those who can't fight back. True strength isn't domination, it's restraint. Someone who mocks vulnerability fears their own vulnerability. Someone who punishes mistakes likely wasn't allowed to make any. But the one who shows compassion without judgment, that's real power. 15. The fear of being forgotten drives the need for attention. You've probably seen it. The person who constantly seeks the spotlight isn't always confident. They may be afraid of being invisible. Nietzsche saw attention-seeking as a response to deeper fear, the fear of not mattering. So instead of judging, ask what silence would mean to them. 16. People often attack what they envy. Criticism isn't always hatred, it can be admiration mixed with insecurity. When someone